Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me tonight. You're all amazing and I really appreciate you all and welcoming me to Boksburg. I must say Cape Town is the good life, but Boksburg's not far off. You managing there? That's so good. Listen, if a woman was doing this job, it would probably... Got it? We're good?
I hope so.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bless you guys. That's awesome. So firstly, I just want to start off and say, during the praise and worship now, I could really just feel the Holy Spirit here. I don't know about all of you, but I can just feel that He's here and He resides in this place, and that's so awesome. And also just wanted to say that it's such a family vibe that I feel here in this church. And, I see a lot of empty seats, but I'm so excited for what you guys are doing. It's going to be amazing, and I look forward to the day to coming back and just seeing this place completely packed, that you need overflow sections to welcome people in. You're going to have people sitting on the floor, and that's just amazing. And that's because of faithfulness that's happening in this church. And the volunteers are amazing. The work that they do before a service as well is really incredible. So that's awesome. Cool. So let's get into it. So I'm going to tell you, obviously a lot of people know about my husband. He is an amazing rugby player, an amazing man. And tons have been said about his story and his upbringing. And if you don't mind, I'm going to let you know a little bit about my life and where I grew up and how I lived. So it was mentioned that I grew up in Grahamstown. It's a small little town, probably a similar sort of family vibe to Boksburg. I went to school there. But before I start there, when I was born not breathing. So I was born... the doctors took a while to get me breathing and going. Sorry, Jesus is here and I'm emotional, so just excuse me. I wasn't breathing when I was born. In Grahamstown, when I was 9 years old, I was involved in a bus accident where I lost one of my good friends. Sorry. And when I was 15, Jesus, just be with me here. When I was 15 years old, my parents went through a terrible divorce, and I got stuck in a hole. And I know many, many people have been there, but I got stuck in a hole of depression, and I used to cut myself, and I tried to commit suicide at 15 years old. And this is just something that I'm bringing up, and I'm being so raw with you guys here, because I believe, you see in the news on a daily basis now of children committing suicide from ages of like 12, 13, 9 years old committing suicide, which is just crazy. And I just think it's something that we all need to be speaking about a little bit more. So I'm just being open and raw here. We're in a safe place. So, yeah. So 15 years old, I tried to commit suicide. I believe that I didn't have anything more to live for, that there was no plan for my life at all. And after that, I had an aunt that called me and said, what you've done is so selfish, and come to Cape Town and work in an orphanage. Come and see children of your age that really are struggling in life. And I went and worked at an orphanage for 2 weeks with children 3, 4, 5 years old that had been raped. Terribly abused. I had seen a girl my age who had been gang raped, and every single day I would go to this orphanage and I would think, wow, these kids are smiling, like, how is this happening, and me sitting here thinking that my life is so bad and so rough, and really it was just a average sort of life, and I obviously dealt a lot family-wise, but it was just amazing to see these little kids that could get up every single day and still be smiling and still happy. And then I would come back and be all depressed. So I really just felt that God spared my life, that, He's brought me here for a reason. And when I was 16, I forgot to mention as well, I got bacterial meningitis. And it was a very close call then for me as well. I was in hospital for a month and in ICU for a good 10 days. And there were many nights when I thought, this was it. And there was actually one night in particular, my dad was with me. And I just remember everything just going like murky almost. And then I was thinking, wow, like, Jesus, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm tired of this fight. It's too much for me. You're expecting too much from me. And I said to him, if you can just get me through this night, like if you can just give me one more chance at life, I promise I'll pray every night, and I promise I'll do good, and anything you tell me, I'll do it. I'll be in church every Sunday, I'll do it. And it's almost like he just said to me, you know what, sometimes you feel like you're in a hole. So in depression, you feel like you're in a hole, but we serve a God that will come out and get in that hole with you and put up a ladder for you, and he will drag you right up that ladder out of that hole. And you've got to believe that. And same, recently I felt I'm in a ship. I felt like I was just, in like one of those little rowboats in a crazy sea. And I was telling my friend, I feel like all my friends are just sailing past me like, hey, on their yachts, hope you're okay, hope everything's fine. And I was just like rowing my little boat, struggling out here. But, again, we serve a God that walks on water to come and meet us, which is so awesome. And that's so encouraging for me. And I hope it's encouraging for someone else tonight. So yeah, he'll use you where you're at. Also, I remember being in church often and, looking up at people like, wow, God is doing such great things. They've got such amazing words to speak. And you guys have obviously all seen all these big fancy rugby players, which is so awesome. And you look at them and you're like, wow, God is doing so much in their lives. They have such a massive platform to work with. But you must remember that God will work with you where you're at. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, if you are working at a restaurant, if you are working, you're a doctor or a lawyer or wherever you find yourself, God will use you where you are with the people that are around you. Don't underestimate your value in the position that you're at right now. Don't even look at it and be like, I'm insignificant, or I'm not doing enough, or I can't do more, or, I don't have this massive platform. You do. And it's changing one person that's next to you. It's changing the next life that's next to you. It doesn't have to be 100 people at a time. It's one at a time, and give them a platform. That's how we're going to fill all these seats, guys. Is one at a time. You invite one person at a time, and they invite somebody else, and they invite somebody else. And that's how you change lives, whole lives. So that's an exciting thing. Also, just to get back to my family, so obviously I'm married to Sia. I think we have a couple of pictures up. I'm married to Sia, and we have 4 children. So we adopted Sia's half-brother and sister, Liema and Lipelo. Liema is 16 years old, and Lipelo is 11. Then we've got 2 children together, Nicholas, who's turning 4 tomorrow, sweetheart, and Kezia, who is 9 months now. I don't know if we've got those pictures up, just to give you guys a little visual of what's going on. But yeah, they're such blessings. And so Liam and Lipelo, what happened was with them is we adopted them 4 years ago this year. They were orphaned and then put in the system. And they went through a lot of abuse as well, and a lot that they need to deal with. And obviously they're going to have their own testimonies at some stage in their life that they'll be able to share with everyone. But it's just incredible to be a part of their journey. And so many people look at me and they're like, wow, you're such an amazing person for taking in these children, and what you're doing for them is so incredible. To me, I don't think so. Like, I think it's an act of, we're humans, that's what you do. And they're also children. Who was I to have the right to stand and be like, no, Sia, we can't invite your kids because it's going to be too rough for me. No, it's been an incredible journey, and I'm so blessed to be a part of their life. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. And it can get very interesting in my household. I don't know, anyone got kids here? Yeah. Yeah, we all need all the prayer we can possibly get on a daily basis, because it gets interesting. Okay, if we can't get those pictures, don't worry. It's all right. Then I have a verse that I just wanted to share with you guys with regards to God having a plan for you. It's Jeremiah 29, verse 11, where it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plan to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And that's just something that every single one of us need to constantly remember, like we have to, oh, there we go. No, it's in front of me. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's just something that every single one of us, I think we need to walk through, no matter where you are at the moment, if you're in the pit, if you're in the boat, wherever you are. Just remember that God's got a plan for you, and it's so much bigger than what you can imagine for yourself. Like, if I took my life when I was 15 years old, I would never be able to be here tonight, like with all of you incredible people and experiencing Boxberg. So that's awesome. Okay, cool. Boxberg. You know, there were times also out of school that I would look at being a Christian like a weakness. I would think it was a weakness. And all that was that I realized there was that God calls us to forgive, and he calls us to love. And not any kind of love, it's unconditional love. And it's very hard to do sometimes, especially when someone has wronged you. And we get so caught up in this society these days that, you know, if someone hurts you, leave them. To cut them out of your lives. Don't invite them in anymore. Don't open up to them anymore. Where God calls you to forgive 70 times 7. That's what he says in the Bible. 70 times 7, forgive. And he tells us to love. And 1 Corinthians verse 13, he ends it off saying, love never fails. And I think that's just something, it's something that I always have to remember as well. And it's very difficult at times, but the kind of God that we serve is one that allows, that's the power that he brings to us, is that he teaches us that we can forgive over and over and over again, and we can love over and over and over again, no matter what the society that we all live in tells us, especially on social media and all of these kinds of places. And luck with the pictures? No? Oh, we got a green screen. Ah, there we go. Okay, cool. So this is Liema with the glasses on. This was the day that Kezia was born, actually. And little Nick, oh, he loves his sister. And Lipelo is in the corner over there. And this is a recent some photos that we took. The expression on my kids' faces, you can see that. So that's everyone. Beautiful, beautiful children. Oh, we're so blessed. Yeah, so that's the family, and the dynamics are very interesting. I often tell myself I'm way too young for this. A 16-year-old, 11-year-old going on 15, and a 4-year-old, yeah, gets very interesting in the evenings. Just be careful not to get caught up in the society that we live in, where people are shallow. There's a lot of people that are fake, and a lot of people that are shallow these days. And I really believe that we as Christians are called to be real, and we're all called to have a voice, wherever we find ourselves, that we're all called to have a voice and to just be real and to share God's love and God's mercy and God's grace that he brings for us. And that's just a point that I wanted to put up is, are you listening to God, or are you listening to the world? So are you finding yourself on social media for 8 hours a day and reading your Bible for 10 minutes a night? Because then you're going to know what direction you're heading in, and it's not a good one. So give God your time. Spend quiet time with him in the evenings, in the mornings, wherever. But make sure that the time and the time that you're giving him is more than what you're giving to the world, because that's a piggy bank with no bottom. You're just putting in all your coins to something that's never going to fill up and never going to give you anything back. It's also so important that you find yourself planted in a church. So this amazing family environment, it's honestly a family environment that you guys have going on here, which is incredible. Get yourself planted in here as a volunteer, serve wherever you can, get involved, get to know someone, and I promise you're going to find friends. Like, I've lost so many friends when I became a Christian and got saved. I lost so many friends because they didn't understand. They didn't give me the advice that I needed. So their advice would be someone's wronged you, push them out of your life. Where now people challenge me. My friends challenge me. I leave a conversation with my friends and I feel challenged and I feel motivated. And it's an interesting way where if you're leaving a conversation with a friend feeling like they've just agreed with you for the past hour, then you know it's maybe a friendship you need to look at and just rethink. Then another point I wanted to bring up was, how do you honor God? How do you show him, appreciate the things that he's done for your life, and in a daily basis, in the way that you live, in your workplace, in your home environment? How do you honor him, and just the lifestyle that you live? So some things that I do to honor God is, I'm honestly very passionate about community work and underprivileged communities, and it's something I'm always trying to work in and develop. So we have some pictures of that as well. I've recently set up a library at a school in Lotus River, so it's one of the most dangerous areas in Cape Town. There's constantly shootings there. The children at the school are, 12, 13 years old, pregnant, and 9 years old, hooked on drugs. And this is because of people using drugs in while they're pregnant. So this is the container that we got sponsored, which is so amazing. And here's a picture of the school shoes as well. So these are the shoes that the kids have been wearing every day. So that's a cable tie, that little white thing on the end there is a cable tie. So these children walk sometimes 10 kilometers to and from school every day, and that's what their shoes look like after a couple of weeks, and they're drenched in the rain. So I have a heart to just change the shoe situation in South Africa. So that's something I'm currently working on at the moment. Thank you. Yeah. And it's something that I'm obviously so passionate about as well, because Sia didn't wear shoes or socks until he was 10 years old, bless his heart. So he didn't understand the feeling of socks the first time he felt them, and he didn't understand the purpose of them either. But shame. He couldn't tell his fingers and toes apart when he started high school, the sweet thing. Shame, man. Probably exposing him a bit much, eh? Oh dear. But that's just the way that I honor God. Is one way is how I raise my children. So I want my children to be raised in a good church and in a good, healthy home. I want them to be raised knowing Jesus and following the Lord. And I want them to influence their friends and their friends' families and their friends' friends. And my lifestyle, how I honor God, on social media, I try to keep things as real. I'm very active on social media, and I try to keep things as real and as raw as possible. So I try and approach situations that maybe not everyone approaches, and maybe we'll get people a little uncomfortable, and it's not always so well... what's the word? Received. Thank you. It's not always so well received, but that's all right, because God, when Jesus was walking on this earth, the words that he came out of his mouth weren't so well received sometimes either. So, get yourself in uncomfortable situations and just do God's work. Just speak what he's got to speak. And if you're spending time in your Bible and with the Holy Spirit, and the only things that are going to come from your heart are going to be from him, because that's what you're filling your heart with. Then just to sort of finish off, I wanted to tell you about a story, a little video I watched today about a chicken and an eagle. So there was a farmer who had an egg, and he placed the egg in a chicken, chicken coop. He placed the egg with the chickens, and it was an eagle's egg. And the egg hatched, so this was an eagle that now hatched with the chickens, but the eagle lived with the chickens. He walked on the ground with the chickens, and chickens can only fly like a meter off the ground. He clucked like the chickens, and he never learned to fly, never learned to soar. He would pick the ground like the chickens, and just live on the ground. And one day when this eagle grew up and it was older, it saw another eagle flying in the sky, and it said, wow, look at that majestic bird, look at the grace and just mighty power that bird has. And the other chicken said to him, don't worry about that bird, it's an eagle. It's nowhere near anywhere where we will be one day. We just look at it and we admire it from here. And this eagle died believing that it was a chicken. And I just wonder how many of us tonight And I'm speaking to myself as well. You know, when God calls, are we comfortable? Are we saying yes? Or are we just comfortable where we are and just not moving where He wants us to be? So, are we living as chickens? Or are we living as eagles? Are we looking at the eagles soaring and, you know, just being complacent where we are? Or are we doing enough to do God's work and just spread His word and invite our friends to church? So just something if you can leave with, just, are you a chicken or are you an eagle? And that decision is purely up to you and up to me.
Okay, so is there any questions? There will be floating mics. Bjorn, where you? Bjorn is that side. David, where you? Is there? If you want to ask a question to Rachel, just raise your hand quickly. Is there a question already, David? Let's stand together. Stand. Let's all see you want to ask this question. Bjorn, do you have someone want to ask a question this side? Anyone? Don't ask who does your hair, please. I think afterwards ask her. Okay, David, is there a question that side? Okay, can you ask it, please?
Hi, I'd just like to ask you a question about kids. I'm expecting twins, so you've got 4. So what would you give advice to young parents, seeing that you're quite challenged?
Well, twins, you're blessed. Firstly, just know that you are so blessed. Wow, there's people out here that are desperate to even fall pregnant, so that's awesome. That's really cool. Tons of prayer. Get a good support group around you and just get them praying, and get them in church to do like a whole service for you of prayer. No, but really, it's going to be such a blessing. And I actually was at a birthday party yesterday, and he's actually a good friend of mine. He was there without his wife, and he has two young twins. And he says it's quite handy because everything you do in twos, so potty training is done in twos. Everything is just done all at once, which is pretty handy. So, but good luck with you. You're blessed. You're so blessed.
Thank you for that question. Is something on the side?
Rachel, Yolanda asked, when you challenge someone and they feel uncomfortable, how do you approach them while they are still in their comfort zone to come out of that comfort zone?
Okay, that's a good question. I like to try and open a conversation as much as possible. So I like to not challenge someone in a way that say, what you're saying is completely wrong. No. To challenge them and, hey, let's have a conversation about it. What do you disagree on? And they chat to me about it, and we see where we go from there. So I try never let it be a thing that I'm attacking someone, just trying to open more of a conversation about something that's real and needed to be spoken about.
Thank you for that answer. Okay, David, is there any questions from any of the people in the audience? I think we can go if you wanted to rugby. I think Rachel have a passion for that game as well, if you want to go there. But if you want to stay in Motherwood, let's stay there. Hey, why not? Any question? Here's one in the front. Just check that question, that side. Okay.
We have a question on this side.
Okay, go for it.
Living in the lime life. How do you deal with negative feedback, comments and stuff?
Good, that's actually a question I get quite often. There's a lot of negativity out of there. But firstly, I'm a child of God, and His opinion matters more than any single person in this whole world. So I'm very stable in where I am. That's awesome. But yeah, so opinions from people, especially behind a screen, don't really mean much to me because everyone's brave behind a cell phone or a computer, but there's very few people that are going to come up to me to my face to say those negative things. So the day someone does that, I'll be very interested when it does happen. But until then, and even then, I'm a daughter of God and I serve Him, no one else.
I heard a question, is Sia fitter than yourself? And yeah, that's one of the questions.
Definitely not.
Any questions that side, Bjorn?
I'm going to give the mic to Shanae. I think Rachel hearing from you this afternoon, you'll love this question. So I said she must ask it to you.
Good.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, I'm obviously still quite young, trying to find my identity, and in this world that's so judgmental and kind of just wanting to break us down. So my question is, how did you get to this point of being so honest and so raw? Like, my sisters and I really admire that. Like, how did you get to just not care about what everybody says? Because that's easier said than done.
No, absolutely. I know exactly where you are because I was 100% there as well. And I think every single person in their life at some point has been there, especially women. If you are seeking God and the kingdom of God, you will find more and more and more the value that you hold and the person that you are. Because if you're constantly looking at others' approval, now, like the question about the negativity, imagine I listened to every single negative thing that was said about me. I would be like I'd be like a speck of dust. I feel like I would have no power, but we serve a God that's all powerful and almighty. And the more that we just invest in that relationship, the less you'll care what other people, because the thing is, what God says in His Word is so above and beyond what other people think and what other people say that it's kind of mind-blowing at times. Like, sometimes I read my Bible and I'm like, whoa, Lord, like, how are you expecting me to do that? Or how are you expecting me to look at the situation this way? That's through His eyes and His vision. And that's where I find myself, is just through Him. So just continue your relationship and your walk with God, and I promise you, all the other noise will just become blurry.
I see there's a question that side. I don't know, Rachel, if you know Kevin de Klerk is from the Lions, and did he resign, Kevin? But his last mission was to get Sia at the Lions. I don't know if she is aware of it yet, but they might be moving to the city. I'm just keeping it out there. They might come to the Lions. It's a lie, people. It's a lie. It's a lie. David, sal enigiets op by jou?
Yes, Cully would like to know, how did you and Sia meet?
We met at a dinner in Stellenbosch with mutual friends. Actually, the Waratahs were on tour then, and my cousin was friends with Sia and friends with some of the Waratahs guys, and she invited my brother, my sister, and I to a dinner. Sia had a girlfriend at the time, though, and I wasn't interested at all. And he was sitting at the furthest corner of the table. I didn't pay any attention to him that night. And then my brother came back from that dinner and he was like, wow, do you know who that was? And me growing up in Grantstown in PE, it's very close. And I've always been more of a tomboy sort of girl. So I grew up watching rugby and really enjoying it. And so I see my brother was like, you don't remember him from high school? He was the best player ever. So I was like, no, I don't remember him. I don't know. And Sia ended up sending me a message on Facebook, hey. So I said, listen here, don't come with your hair when you've got a girlfriend, okay? No. But we ended up becoming very good friends. And and here we are, 4 kids and married, and life is happening.
Okay, let's have one more. I think there's so many people smelling the nice food, eh? So is there one question that want to...
Yeah.
Okay, where's y'all? Oh, there. Please ask the question.
Okay, Rachel, Brendan wants to know, who's your second most favorite rugby player after Sia, obviously?
Cheslin Colby, by far. I just think that he's, so exciting because he's in the squad now. I was so chuffed when I heard. I just think, there's a lot of great players, but I think, the Cheslin, Gio Applans of the world are just like this agility and just, they're so underestimated as well, because you'll see them taking the biggest tackles. Sorry, I'm talking so much rugby, but you'll see them taking the biggest tackles, and they're solid tackles. They're not like getting handed off and stuff. So I'm so excited to see him in the squad, and I really hope that he has an opportunity at some point. So, yeah.
I actually saw so many guys moving to the front of their seats now, asking questions. Can we shoot one more question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Marlicia wants to know, how do you run your shoe company and how can someone get involved?
So it's not a company, and it's early days still. I actually just wanted to focus on getting everything. So it's been a bit hectic with the kids at school, and just Sia traveling at the moment is very hectic. So he's home about 6 months of the year, which can get very interesting between my life and my kids' lives and everything. So holding down the fort is crazy at times. But so what I'm working on doing is hosting an event where I'm inviting one representative from a privileged school and one representative from an underprivileged school, and I'm wanting to have boxes made and put into classrooms in privileged schools, that because with my kids so often the shoes would become too small, and we'll donate them to a helper or whatever, but I would love to know that they're going onto another child's feet, to getting to walk to school. So just to, have a drop-off zone, just to, hoping to call it a shoe exchange, and then just to, when the shoes are too small and they're in good condition, just to go in the box, and maybe once every quarterly or whatever they deliver to the underprivileged schools. So.